Delayed onset muscle soreness, commonly referred to as DOMS, is frequently used as an indicator of a good workout. The more sore you are after a workout, the better workout you had. But does DOMS actually mean that you had a better workout and therefore will have increased strength gains? Brad Schoenfeld and Brett Contreras published an article in the Strength and Conditioning Journal by the National Strength and Conditioning Association looking at whether delayed onset muscle soreness was an indicator of muscular adaptation. They were looking at two different questions. The first question was whether delayed onset muscle soreness was an indicator of muscular adaptation. And the second part was whether the delayed onset muscle soreness was actually a good indicator of muscle damage. They found that there were several mechanisms of how muscle soreness could lead to strength adaptations after exercise. One of them was the acute inflammatory response after exercise. And this occurs because the macrophages and neutrophils get stimulated after exercise, causing an inflammatory response. And this leads to the muscles producing more muscle fibers in response to that inflammation. Another potential mechanism is that exercise stimulates satellite cells, which are undifferentiated cells in the muscle, and it tells these satellite cells to turn into myoblasts, which will then create more muscle after exercise. And the last mechanism that they potentially found was cell swelling. So after exercise, we all like to say that we get swole afterwards. And this can be part of the cells swelling, so they accumulate with a little bit of fluid. This fluid stimulates protein synthesis, so building more protein in the muscles, and inhibits protein breakdown, so the net gain is that we'll get more protein in the muscle cells. While the research article suggests that delayed onset muscle soreness can be an indicator of strength adaptations after exercise, it appears that DOMS is not a very reliable way of determining tissue damage occurred during exercise. In other words, really what delayed onset muscle soreness tells us is that there's some muscle damage that occurred during the exercise, but it doesn't really tell us how much. We can have a lot of muscle soreness after exercise, but very little tissue damage that occurred, or vice versa. We can have a lot of tissue damage that occurred, but very little soreness. There's not a very good relationship between the amount of soreness and the amount of tissue damage that occurred. And the amount of muscle soreness can vary between individuals. So some people will experience more soreness after an exercise versus others. And it also appears that some muscle groups might be more prone to getting sore after exercise than others. And so altogether, delayed onset muscle soreness is not a very good indicator of the tissue damage that occurred, since there's a lot of variables that are at play. So while we typically judge our workouts based on how sore we are afterwards, this is actually a poor way of assessing the effectiveness of a workout. We have this same problem with pain, where we typically associate more pain with more tissue damage. The way that I typically think about this is if we think about a paper cut. A paper cut hurts a lot, so the pain intensity is very high, but the amount of tissue damage is very little. And so similarly, we can be very sore after a workout, but that doesn't mean that it was a good workout, since the amount of muscle soreness won't translate to the amount of strength gains that we're looking to achieve. There are actually a couple of really good reasons why we shouldn't use post-exercise soreness as a metric for a good workout. One of them is that if we're focused on trying to make ourselves as sore as possible during every workout, then it's going to take our tissues longer to recuperate after exercise. So if our muscles are really sore, we have to wait for our tissues to heal before we go work out again, and that's all lost workout time. So if we can stimulate the tissues to the same extent without being sore afterwards, that means our tissues can heal faster and we can get back to another workout. That way we're actually increasing the stimulus on the muscles to get stronger faster. The other reason comes from what we know about people when they're experiencing pain. When someone's experiencing pain, our body will change our movement patterns to protect that tissue. So if we think about soreness and pain on the same spectrum, if someone's really sore, then our body might actually change our movement pattern to protect that tissue. So Let's say if we're deadlifting and our hamstrings or glutes are really sore afterwards, our body might change our lifting pattern for future lifting to protect either the hamstrings or the glutes, which could potentially overload another tissue, let's say the low back, causing potential injury in the future. All of this isn't to say that we should never be sore after exercise. Instead, we should just be cognizant that muscle soreness after exercise is a side effect and not a desired outcome. When we're assessing the effectiveness of an exercise program, we need to use other metrics than just how sore we are after we exercise. Thank you for watching this episode on whether muscle soreness indicates a good workout. I hope that you found this information useful. If you did, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more of my content, go and hit that subscribe button, which I think is down on this side, but it could be on that side. Wherever that red button is, go ahead and hit that red button down there.